I hit record.
Hello, and welcome to episode 13 of the Tweedle Eat Tweedle Run podcast, where Steph and I document our Run Disney adventures at both Disney World and Disneyland, this time parks. I'm Court, and this is Steph.
Hello, and as always, you can interact with us on various social media platforms like Instagram and Gmail. Look for us at Tweedle Eat Tweedle Run, or you can email us at tweedleeattweedlerun@gmail.com. We are on YouTube and Spotify. If you want to listen and like and hear everything that you see, make sure to subscribe by sprinkling a little bit of fairy dust on that like and subscribe button. On today's episode, we are going to talk about my birthday
Steph's
and Disneyland.
birthday.
And
Yes, we're
in
going to do our trip report for our Disneyland trip and how everything went and all the birthday surprises that it entailed.
and there were many, many, many birthday surprises.
Would you say it was a fantastic birthday, Steph?
I would say it was a pretty flippin' fantastic birthday.
Good.
Definitely no complaints. Um, Minus maybe some of the heat and some of the stuff that came with the heat only in the aftermath afterwards. But that was didn't really affect us. It would just kind of made the whole thing got a little sad. But no, the birthday party was excellent. My birthday surprises were excellent. Where should we start? Should we just start with the beginning of with my first surprise?
Let's start. So I'll start us off and then you can jump in when you were made aware of things. So very early on Thursday morning, we had our flight. Our flight left at 8 a.m. out of Toronto. And so I told Steph I was picking her up at 5 a.m. to drive to the airport. Unbeknownst to Steph, because Steph believed it was just her and I going on this trip, I convinced Paula, who was our one and only podcast guest that we've had on this show, our friend Paula and our friend Nat, I had secretly convinced to join us. And so Nat came to my house. We went and picked up Paula. So then we showed up at Steph's front door to pick her up. I actually like drove past her house by accident because
She did.
we were like trying to figure out how we were going to surprise her. And I was like, oh my goodness, I missed her house. And I had to like double back.
And when I saw the car go by, I was like, what other crazy people are driving around at 5 o'clock in the morning? And then when I saw the car loop around, I'm like, oh, it's my crazy person. This is what
Yes.
this is. So I could see Court pull into my driveway. So I'm starting to walk down the steps of my house, and she hops out of the car and she's acting like a lunatic with her cell phone to try to get my reaction on camera. But she's like messing up the camera with the lighting and stuff. And she just keeps asking me, how excited are you to go to Disneyland? And I'm like, so excited. And she's like, no, we got to do it again. How excited are you to go to Disneyland? And I'm slowly like moving around the car to like get my stuff into the back of the car. And I'm just literally by this point, after the third or fourth time of her asking me, how excited am I to go to Disneyland, like screaming it, my windows are open in my house. And apparently everybody heard all of this at five
Oh,
o'clock in the
did they?
morning.
Oh, that's
They
hilarious.
did.
Well,
Yeah.
so in my mind, the plan was I was going to say, are you excited to go to Disneyland? And Paula and Nat, who were crouched down in the back seat so you wouldn't see them, were going to jump out. Well, I guess Paula and Nat, crouched down in the back seat, thought that they were going to surprise you when you got into the
Into the
car, which I'm
car
like,
and
that
scare the
made no
crap
sense.
out of me, basically.
How was I going to capture that on film? So anyways, so
I
we
don't know.
opened the trunk, and of course, then Steph sees like there's so much luggage, and she's like, what
Yeah.
is like, kind of those like little like you don't know what's going on, but you're sort of like something's weird
Yeah.
here. So that's when I walked over and like opened the back car door, and Paula and Nat came out, and we did capture it on video. So I'll have to post it as a reel on our Instagram account of the surprise.
The surprise. But yes, I was very surprised. I had no idea. Nobody leaked anything. The best part about
Success.
all of this was that like neither of our husbands knew, and Paula works with mine. So
Mhm.
many of their coworkers knew and not my husband. So that's kind of funny.
Well, and Nat stayed at my house. Like she drove over to my house and she was going to leave her car. So I send a message to my husband just saying like, "Hey, Nat's keys are in the mudroom." But I hadn't told him she was coming. And so after I sent the message, I'm like, I bet he's going to be like, "Why?" Like, why is her car
Why is
at
this
my
car
house?
here on a
And
Thursday morning?
the reason I didn't tell him was because, and now it wasn't his fault because he didn't know it was a surprise, but he accidentally leaked to Steph at one of the physio appointments he went to that I was running the half marathon, which I was going to surprise tell Steph on our
Yeah.
podcast. And so I was like, no, no, I know that he can keep secrets if he's told it's a secret, but I couldn't risk it. So I was
Just
like,
didn't want to risk it, but no, I was definitely in a lot of shock, and it was a very nice surprise. Not that it
yay.
it wouldn't have been a fantastic trip, just the two of us. It was just that much better having sidekicks to come along.
Well,
And the
and
best part about
honestly,
this, well, the best part about this was that Nat is actually did one of the, like signed up for Telegraph and did one of the races too. But go ahead and say what you were going to say.
well, I was gonna say, like, honestly, like it wasn't, I didn't even think they were gonna come because I asked them
No.
months ago, like back when like we were first setting this whole thing up, hey, really mean a lot to Steph if you could come. I know Disney's maybe not like your thing. And this was before Paula had even gone on her trip because she said, well, let me go on my trip first and just like make sure I don't absolutely hate it or whatever, right? And Nat had initially said she wouldn't come unless she was going to run the race. Like she kind of wanted to feel like she was going for the
Serving a
race weekend.
purpose.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Like, and I get that because I kind of felt that way when I originally didn't get race bibs. I was like, so I'm just gonna go. And of course, my husband's like, you still get to go to Disney. Like, what's the big deal? So
Yeah.
anyway, so I told her, I was like, well, you can try this Telegram. Like, I don't know if you're gonna be able to. And like, yeah, sure enough, she got a 10K race bib. So that's 3 race bibs that we got after it was fully sold out. And she got her race bib like mid-August. Like it
Yeah.
was
Like weeks
really
before.
close. Yeah. So yeah, so we all piled in. Steph's all excited. We drove to the
Hmm.
airport. It was pretty uneventful, I'd say, like flight wise, like
We
no issues. You
no.
and I went to the lounge, had a quick breakfast. Like if anything, the timing seems so perfect. It's like we got to the airport, we parked, went to the lounge, and we got to the lounge and got food. And I said, we have 20 minutes before we have to be at our gate. So it was like, okay, we just ate, grabbed some snacks for the plane, and then walked to the gate. And as soon as we got there, it was like, oh, they had just called zone 2. So I'm like, okay,
Away
that's
we
our
go.
zone. Let's board. And I think we even arrived early, didn't we?
Yeah. Yeah. Like we got in a little early to LAX, and
Hmm.
no issues, no major problems with the flight. You maybe slept for 20-ish minutes.
I know.
I did not
I
sleep at all.
I closed my eyes and I put on a movie and I sat there for an hour and a half with my eyes closed, listening to this movie, being like, I will at some point fall asleep. And everyone's like, "Oh, you had a good sleep." I was like, I was awake that entire time. There's not a
Yeah.
second of that movie that I missed. Like, I just, yeah, because I had my son had a late soccer game the night before, so I got to bed at like midnight and couldn't fall asleep. And I literally probably got 2 hours of sleep before getting
And
up for this flight.
she was just warming up to the insanity that it is for Disney races and such. So yeah, so we land in LAX. I got us a Lyft to take us to Disneyland.
You looked up Lyft
Um,
and Uber though, like to
yeah,
see,
we
and Lyft was cheaper, right?
ever so slightly.
Yeah.
Like a few bucks basically. And if anything, Lyft was more annoying because it wasn't set up properly with my Google Pay. So I had to do like a bunch of stuff. But anyways, we took the Lyft. For those
Oh,
of you
one,
traveling,
yeah, I was gonna say
yes,
to note about how to get there, right? Yeah, yeah.
exactly. Yeah. So if you're traveling to LAX, how to do rideshare, they have a specific rideshare section. So you have to take the rideshare bus to the rideshare section, and that's where you can, or like you can call them on your way, but that's where you can place an order for Uber and Lyft. And then it's actually very simple. You just hop in and go.
Yeah, and
And then
there's
away
yeah,
we went.
there's a bus, yeah, that you get on, and we couldn't even order the ride share because initially when Steph was looking, it was like, oh, it's 5 minutes away. And then when you looked again, it was like something like 45 minutes. And we're like,
45 minutes away.
what is going on? Like this is so
And it
weird. And
wouldn't let
then
me pick an exact address. Like I couldn't
yeah,
pick anything. So that was why.
yeah.
Um, yeah, so we got to Pixar Place and got to see the beautifulness that is the brand newly renovated
So
hotel.
nice.
It's so cute. The artwork so awesome. Because we rolled up at like what, 10:30. Well, I guess it
Yeah.
would have been almost
No,
11 by this point.
yeah, probably close to 11, but like
Yeah,
barely, yeah. Like, and traffic
barely
was
that.
not bad. Like we got
Nope,
in on a
traffic wasn't bad
Thursday
at all.
morning. We drove in the like whatever HOV lanes, like
Hmm.
the passengers lanes or whatever they call them down there. So that wasn't too bad. We skipped some traffic, but even otherwise, traffic didn't seem bad that morning. So yeah, so we got there around 11 and we couldn't check in. Our room was not ready yet.
Nope, room
Womp
was not
womp.
ready, but we we got changed. We dropped stuff off at Bell Services. We got a picture with Bing Bong, which was a
Yeah,
big
he was
deal
in the
because
lobby.
yeah, and Pixar Place is the only place you can find Bing Bong.
Yeah.
So
And
that's
it's
kind of
worth
cool.
noting that we never saw him again.
No,
Like the
just that first
rest of the
time.
trip. Yeah, it was the only
No Bing
time we
Bong.
saw him. And so I was like, well, it's a good thing we saw him and took a picture because,
Yeah.
and I mean, we weren't at the hotel a ton, but I mean, we were still in and out of that lobby enough times that I'm
I mean,
surprised we didn't see him.
that last day that we were there, we were in and out of the hotel a whole bunch and we didn't see
Yeah.
anybody. So
Hmm.
it was pretty lucky that day. So from there we went and got our name put on the walk-up list for Trader Sam's.
Yes. So Trader Sam's opened at 11:30. And so we were
Yes.
like pretty much right at 11:30 or like 11:25 when we walked over there, which was like a super short walk.
Yep.
Luckily, someone was like going in because they have like some back entrances that you need a key card for, but people were going in. So we just, followed them in
Sidled
because
in.
we were going to Trader Sam's. And they were just starting to call people for their tables. So it was like pretty much right when it opened. And yeah, put our name on the list. I think they quoted us just over 2 hours or 2 hours.
Yeah, it was like 2 hours and 15 minutes. Travel tip for those of you who want to get to Trader Sam's, they do actually open the list at 11. I
Yeah.
heard them tell people as they were coming up. So if you're there at 11, you can like walk up, get your name on the list right away.
Yeah,
So,
and then those are probably the people who get to actually go in when it opens. But the timing
hmm.
worked out pretty well because we had literally just gotten there, and the Disneyland hotel was where we had to go anyways to get our race bibs. So we were like basically walking right past it to go in to get our race bib. So continued on into the convention
Continued
center.
on, got our lined up in our many, many lines for our various race bibs and learned all the corrals that we were in, even though we knew corrals-ish from before. Um, Also note, don't mess up what corral you're in because they will not change it for you, despite what some people
Nope.
say on the internet. Because I tried. I tried to get
Yes.
my D corral for the 5K switched to like at least B. Like I said to them, like, I'm in B for everything else. And they're like, ooh, yeah, that's a big difference because the nightmare of the D 5K corral was
We'll
kind of
we'll
real.
we'll get to
We'll
that.
get
We'll
to
get to
that.
that. That's
Yeah, so we tried that. We also tried to see if we could just get Paula any bib. Nada. That was no bueno. Not going to happen there. So then from picking up the bibs, we went and got all of our shirts and learned as well that at the shirts you can do an on-site shirt exchange for a different size if you decide that the
yeah.
shirt is not the correct size for
And they
you.
had like a separate section for it, even. Like I literally walked up because I had said to Steph, the last one we did, I got a medium shirt and it was like a little too big. Like it fit, but I was like, I'd probably get a small next time. And yeah, just sure enough, it was like this huge like shirt exchange section. Like it was really easy to find and you just walked up and you're like, here are my shirts. And they were like, what size do you want? And just flipped them out super quickly. So yeah, that was super easy. It wasn't quite as well-oiled machine, I would say, as Disney World.
No.
Uh, they have fewer runners total that are doing it, so sort of makes sense, but it definitely wasn't quite as nice of a, loop that you do. And
And to get your picture taken and things like that, like there were definitely like photo passes included with your bibs for the Disneyland races, and it's because there's not as many. That's truthfully what it is. Like overall fewer photopass stops. Nobody was around really to take your picture. If you wanted your picture taken at the expo, you did it yourself.
yeah,
So
which was fine. I mean, there were enough people
yeah,
there to take your photo, but it still was just like one of those extra things that, yeah, when you're in Disney World, there's a PhotoPass person there that will just take all your photos. Obviously, you can still take them yourself, but it's,
sure.
if you have like the memory maker or like we do with the annual pass that includes the photos, it's like, hey, would be nice to just have somebody there taking them. But anyways, no, it was good. It was very easy. We were in and out quite quickly. Like it really didn't take too much time, despite us like hanging around to ask all of our millions of questions, the answers to which were all no. I
Yes,
don't, I
basically.
don't, I don't think we got a yes answer to any of them.
No,
And then we headed into Disney Springs from there, didn't we?
we did because Paula was hungry, so we went to Black Tap to get burgers and drinks
And salads. They actually, so
and
you
salads.
and
Yeah,
I split a salad. That was like the
the
cauliflower
cauliflower.
salad. It was really good. I liked it.
Yeah,
Paula got the essentially like Big Mac salad, which she really enjoyed, and then Nat got a fried chicken sandwich, which she said was good, but was really heavy. And I think that was her first her first introduction to like this is why we share meals because like it
exactly.
was so much food, and so she was just like it was too much, but we hadn't been called yet for Trader Sam's, so we figure, well, we're hungry now, we'll just grab lunch here, and then we can always just have drinks when we go to Trader Sam's. And then we
Yeah,
went and got
so
and then we went and got ice cream for
we did.
me.
And then that's when I had my first bit of birthday magic. Because I should
Yeah.
mention, when I actually got to Pixar Place and we mentioned we were there for my birthday, I immediately got my birthday pin. So then I was like proudly wearing my birthday pin all weekend, even though it wasn't actually my birthday yet. But when I went into to get ice cream, I got
Salt
it
and
for
straw.
free. Salt and
Yeah.
straw. Salt and straw, I got it totally for free. So that was pretty exciting.
Yeah, she was
And it
just
was
like, "Oh, it's all
delicious.
happy birthday. This one's on me." And stuff's like, "Oh, really?" And
Yeah.
because I think that's the thing about birthdays, wearing the birthday pin is that all the cast members like they are all really good at saying happy birthday to you, which is awesome and definitely makes you have that like special feeling that, they're noticing that you're wearing a button and they're wishing you happy birthday. But those like other extra things, like you can't like expect that they're going to happen. And so that way when
No.
they do, it's even that much more exciting that it's like, oh, okay, cool. Thank you.
Yeah, so that was a nice little touch. And from there, then we went back to Trader Sam's, right? I think we
Yeah.
stopped at the expo, took some pictures, uh, and that's
We
when you
wanted,
exchanged your shirts too.
yeah, and we wanted to look at Nat wanted to see the race routes because she
Yeah,
hadn't been able to
find
find
them
them
online.
online. Because the thing that sucks is that the website for the events actually doesn't have all the information on it because heaven forbid, why would they do that? It's like, oh yeah, you have to follow the Instagram account because they posted all the routes on Instagram account. But if you go into the actual website, you're like, this is the race I'm doing. There's no race
Nothing.
routes, right?
No.
So she wanted to check that out. So we went there. I should just to back up Salt and Straw because I got the vegan ice cream. It's still
Oh yeah,
fantastic.
it was
It's
very good.
so good. I got like this like strawberry one, and like it tasted like ice cream. Like I let Paula try it, and she's like, "Oh my gosh, like this like tastes like ice cream." I'm
So,
like, yeah.
side note, it tastes like ice cream as long as you're not also eating real ice cream like I was. So I could tell it wasn't ice cream because then I took a bite of my real strawberry ice cream, was like, oh no, this is ice cream. But it
Fair,
was still good.
fair.
Don't get me wrong. It was still delicious, but you
It's
can't
a
you
it's a
can't do it the
very
back to
if you
back.
can't do the lactose, it is still a very, very, very good alternative. So anyway, so
Yes,
then we went to Trader Sam's, which was on Steph's bucket list of things she wanted to do this trip. So checked that off. It was very fun. It was Paula and Nat's first time obviously going. I'd say that they definitely both loved it as well.
totally. Yeah. And Paula knowing me very well, as soon as she like walked in and kind of looked around, she's like, "No, I totally get why you like this place. It's your jam." I'm like, "Yeah, it's a tiki bar and like a very cool tiki bar." So it was very awesome. So
And
check.
3 out of 4 of us, so not me, but everyone else got a tiki mug to bring home.
We did. Very
We
cool.
I will say we did get seated in this kind of weird. They sat us at the corner of the bar, which they had told us. And but the guy kind of said like, "Oh, when a table opens up, I'll move you." Because the awkward part was that there was a pole right at the corner of the bar. So it's like you kind of had
Yeah.
to like look around the pole to see Paula who was sitting on the other side. It wasn't just the corner of a bar, which otherwise would have been fine. But then these tables kept opening up and nobody came over to move us. And then we kind of asked the bartender and he said, well, if you move to a table, I have to cash you out. And we were like, okay, but that's like kind of what they said when they sat us down. So I don't know. The bartender seemed like kind of awkward about it and he didn't want to mess up for all the people out front. So I was like, I'm just going to go out. So I went over and I just went back out and asked like the hostess. And she's like, Oh yeah, no problem. It just like came in and shuffled us around. And so then we were like four in a row at the bar, which was way better because then we could actually see Paula as opposed to
Yeah.
when she was like around the corner, but there was this pole in the way. So like it basically it never hurts to ask, just like
No.
be polite, be friendly about it, be accommodating to like what they can do because they're trying to fit as many people in there as they can. And so they have to make sure the numbers work out and they're trying to get you in more quickly. So of course they're like, hey, I've got 4 seats available. Like the next foursome, I'm just gonna kind of sit them there or whatever. But anyways, they were lovely about it and came in, and then it didn't mess with what anyone else was trying to do. So
Yeah. So from Trader Sam's, I'm pretty sure we went back to the hotel
we did to try and see if our
because
room was ready.
yeah, and we I think it was ready by this point because then we did go up
Yeah,
to the room. We kind of got settled. Some people were starting to get tired, so we had to keep moving because then we had an early dinner reservation, right? Yes.
we decided to go. Yeah, you had made a 4:45 reservation at
At Centrica, yeah.
Centrico,
Centrico. Mm.
which is so it's in downtown Disney still, and it's in the center like of the main downtown Disney walkway, and it's a Mexican place, and we were like, sure, like this is great. Now, I will say the downfall to this decision was that it was already a bajillion degrees this
Yeah,
day. I think it was 42 this day,
something like that.
something like
So
that.
it
42
it
Canadian,
was
42 Celsius for these
42
Canadians.
Canadian. So
42
yes,
Celsius.
which was hot. Everybody's like, "Oh, but you're in California." But
Hot.
California is not this hot right now. There's like a freak heat wave. I looked it up afterwards. There was some record that was broken on my birthday from like 1990. So it
Yeah.
was hot.
So we went to Centrico, whatever we're calling this place.
Yep.
And the problem was because it's California and because they don't necessarily have these crazy heat waves, this place is like all outdoor, like it's like open air, and it was so hot. Like and it was shaded, obviously, like there was a roof
Yes.
to it. We weren't sitting in the sun, and it's like almost well 5 o'clock. So it's not the hottest part of the day, but they also had like no ceiling fans or anything. So it's just like stagnant. And I'm like, oh my God, like you could just like feel the sweat like dripping down your body and like
It
beating on
was
your brow.
so hot. But the food was good. We were smart
Yeah.
and we Court and I do what we do and we split our dinner and didn't feel disgusting afterwards. Meanwhile, poor Nat struggled through that first day,
Yeah.
feeling absolutely like garbage because she ate way too much.
She
Uh,
she got so we got the fish tacos, Steph and
yeah,
I, and then like another like side of kind of street
street
corn,
corn.
and split both. And that was like a good amount of like I was full with what we got, and that
Yeah,
got the tacos, but just for herself. And then Paula got like a quesadilla, but again, just for herself. And neither of them finished. They both basically had like more than half of their dinners that they took home with them, like back to the room. Paula ended up eating hers for breakfast. Nat's just ended up getting thrown out. And we were like, yeah, this is why we try and split meals as much as we can.
because we learned the hard way the first time as
We
well.
did. That first time we went and we ate way too
Yeah,
much at Art Smith's homecoming and just like loved the food and then like hated our lives
hated
for
it.
like a solid
Yeah,
couple hours afterwards.
and regretted the decision when we were trying to eat food at Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween party.
Yes.
So,
Yes, it was not a good scene. So yeah, so
yeah,
from there, like so then we walked back to our place and I was so tired, like having only 2 hours of sleep. And then also with the time change, because they're 3 hours behind. So for us, it was still like 9 o'clock at night, like as far as our bodies knew, and we'd been up since 4 a.m.
yeah.
So I was like, I'm so done. And Steph's like, oh, we should go to the pool. I'm like, mm-hmm. As I just
Hmm.
crawl into bed and get myself ready for bed, I'm like, mm-hmm, you do that. I'm gonna be asleep here.
Yeah.
And so you and Paula or you and Nat went down to the pool.
And
Paula actually
Nat and
passed
I,
out with me.
she did. Nat and I went to the pool. We hopped in. It was quite chilly actually because it was like 7:30 and the sun was starting to go down and like the pools are only heated to 82, which
I
is
I don't
lovely.
think I don't think they heated that pool though. Like, because remember later in the trip we went on the water slide, and the water slide water was much warmer than the
It
pool. I
was.
think they
Yeah.
actually didn't heat it because it was so hot.
Yeah, so it was quite chilly. Then Nat and I went into the hot tub, which was then very hot. So then we kind of sat in the hot tub, but not in the hot tub, and it was kind of ridiculous. And so we're like, okay, we need to at least make it to like 8 o'clock before we like crash and go to bed. So she and I wandered back to the room, got dressed, went on an expedition to find ice, found the ice machines, and then I'm pretty sure I was in bed and almost asleep just after 9 o'clock, uh,
Yeah.
PST, West Coast time.
Yeah.
And so,
Not
yeah,
terrible.
that was the first day at Disney.
One thing I'll say about the room, so we had two queen beds and then like a little pull down sleeper. So Paula actually decided to sleep on the little pull down sleeper, and that was fine. Like she said it was like not huge, but I mean she slept
Hmm.
on it every night and was totally fine with it. Steph and I shared one of the queens. I didn't even notice her
No.
because we sleep really well together. It's fine. Like we never really have issues. Like neither of us move too much. But I will say, so we had four adults in that room, and I never felt suffocated for space. Like there was a few times where we're trying to get ready and we only have one bathroom, and so like obviously having to shower four people, it was like it took a little bit longer to get ready because only one could shower at a time. But otherwise, space wise, I was really happy. Like considering that that's their quote unquote value or like their cheapest hotel, it didn't
Exactly.
it didn't feel crammed.
Yeah. Yeah. So it was comfortable otherwise. Let it be known, I feel like every time we go to one of these race weekends, I'm going to sleep like garbage because I feel like I slept like garbage. I probably had a good solid 2 hours of sleep. And then after that, I woke up every hour on the hour, whether it was from excitement or fear that I was going to like sleep in and miss my race. I don't know. But I woke up, I had an alarm set for 4, and I woke up, I think, at like 2, 2, 2, and just from then on did not really sleep. And so I think quarter to 4 rolled around. Nat had got out of the bathroom, and then I went in and skipped to the bathroom saying it was my birthday and woke everybody else up.
Yeah.
So that was exciting.
So our plan, so
Um,
we had asked at the expo because all of us were in different corrals for each of
yes,
these races. So for the 5K, it was just Steph and I doing it. So I got corral A. Amazing. But did
because
I
I
get to
signed
go
you
in
up
corral
correctly.
A? No,
No, because
because
I
Dum
mucked up
Dum
mine.
over here
Yeah.
messed up her own. And so we were in corral D, which was the last corral. There were only four corrals. It was not a huge race. Like it started in Disneyland Park on the main street, and basically the race went off at the castle, and we were at like the end of Main Street sort of thing. So that was every single person could fit on that main street. So it was not a huge race compared to the other ones, or especially compared to the Florida ones. But so we asked like, hey, we're in Corral D, like what time will that go off? Because like I don't want to get there at 4 a.m. and stand around for 2 hours. Anyways, the lady's like, oh yeah, everything should go off by, what'd she say, 5:15, right? She said like they would close the corrals by 5:15 because that's when they expect to get like all the racers going. We were like, you're gonna get all these people gone in 15 minutes? She wasn't far off. Like we were
No, it
pretty
was
far back
pretty
in Corral D, and I think we went off at 5:18.
teen, something like that. It was pretty close.
Yeah, because we were like really not believing her. And no, no, sure enough. So because of what she said, but we were able to like obviously walk from Pixar Place. It was like a 10-minute walk to walk through downtown Disney, super easy to, get in, whatever. So our plan was to get up at 4 a.m. And when we walked over there, we got our costumes out. We'll talk about Steph's costume in a minute. And we walked out, and I think we were at the race by about 4:30, Steph. It's about that time, 4:30.
Yes. Yeah.
And then yeah, joined, and like I said, we were pretty much at the back of Corral D, um, which ended up being a bit of an issue later on. But anyways, costume stuff. So Steph didn't know what she was wearing and didn't know until that morning. That's when she found out what she was wearing.
It is true. So I didn't know what to. Court told me just to bring my white tights. So I
Mhm.
brought my white tights, and I was wearing a sports bra, and I was like, okay, dress me.
So I had fashioned since I did so well with my 10K sandwich board. badge that I did for our other one. I was like, I'm gonna do a sandwich board. So I made her a sandwich board that was like a rectangle, and it said, today is my 40th
40th
birthday
birthday.
in gold glittery letters. And on the back, it was the number 40, and it had pink fairy lights that I had glue gunned all around the edges so that she glowed.
Yeah.
And then we put the battery pack like in her shorts, which is why I wonder, because I'm like, if I try and glue this to like the battery pack's just gonna follow. So I'm like, we'll put it in
Yeah.
the pocket of her shorts. And then I got her a pink tutu that obviously
That
also lit
also
up.
glowed.
And then mini ears that I had put a little 40 on so that she had her little 40 up there. So it was very clear that today was
Yes.
her 40th birthday. And then I wore I wore a safety vest and an orange tutu lit up, and I had made a caution sign for my back that said old caution old lady. And there was
Yes.
like, instead of a whatever exclamation point or whatever, it was like a silhouette of an old lady with like a cane.
It was good. It was very good. We got lots of comments about it.
Mhm.
So
Yeah,
it was
I
great.
like that people would run past, like Steph would run past people and they'd be like, "Happy birthday!" And then I would run past and they would like snicker or be like, "Oh my
Yes.
God."
Yeah, exactly. Like that's good. That's really good. So I have to say, because of this costume, I am now ruined for running races because having it so obvious that it was my birthday, literally everybody I ran by wished me a happy birthday. And it was so awesome. And I tried really hard to not run too fast because I wanted to enjoy the moment. But it was like every time somebody wished me a happy birthday, it was like that speed power boost, like in a video game that just shot me forward. Because later on in the day, when we were talking about the race, and Cora was like, I don't remember any of this because we ran too fast to like look at anything because I was just zipping along. Um, yeah, it was pretty awesome. Plus, I should say the race, because we were in Corral D, it was very chaotic at the start of the race, trying to get
It was
any sort of movement to happen.
awful. So like it
Yeah,
was a 5K race and we were in Corral D, which was the wrong corral for us because we had
totally.
planned to run the whole thing and we were going to run it in sub 30 minutes easily. Like with like that's like a very achievable, not pushing ourselves kind of time, right? And so Corral A is where we both should have been. And so being in Corral D was so frustrating for us. And I didn't really blame the other people in Corral D because I'm like, you're in the correct corral. It frustrated me with Run Disney that it's like you wouldn't correct this mistake. Like when we show up and we're like, this is clearly wrong. Like Steph was in Corral B for her half marathon where she had to submit a proof of time. Should have been very easy to walk up to them and be like, I'm in the wrong corral. Um, because no one ran. Like
No,
literally
everyone walked.
they just walked. Everyone's walking. And because it was within the parks, which the 10K was a bit better for this at the start, but because it was within the parks, it's narrow. Like the walkways are only so wide. Like it's kind of like six people across because of course, you don't need more than that during the park normally.
Yeah.
And so it was really hard to like get around people. We did follow a guy at one point who was pushing a double stroller. He was running with a double stroller. And so we just like followed him for a while because he's like, on your left.
And we were
And
like,
people are like,
sweet, there's a
oh,
path.
and they were
Go,
like
go, go.
jumping out of his way because he's gonna like hit them with a double stroller. Anyways, he
Yeah.
got stuck at one point, so we had to like go around him. We're like, all right, well, you cleared the path for a while. But so then when
And then
we
we went
finally
around.
got out of the mayhem that was Corral D and C, like a lot of people in C were walking.
Yeah.
That's when at one point I was like, Steph is like sprinting practically because she's so excited that we can finally run. And I'm like, no, Steph, first of all, it's so hot. Like we are drenched in sweat because it's still so hot at 5 a.m. already. And I'm like,
Yeah.
no, I'm not killing myself to like finish this race like 2 minutes faster. I'm like, I am gonna
I,
enjoy my run, Steph. Anyways, at one point she kind of turned around. She's like, oh, because she
I was like,
realized.
oh, she's way better back there. Whoops.
I'm like,
But it was literally, I was just too excited. Like I was trying to slow things down and it was just, I don't know, like I said, I'm ruined because then whenever you do a Run Disney race, when it comes to crossing the finish line, they really make an effort to like say your name or make a comment about your costume or something like that. So then as I'm crossing the finish line with my whole get up, the announcer gets on and is like, and now we want to wish Steph a very happy 40th birthday. And then everybody's cheering and wishing me a happy birthday. And there's like a million PhotoPass pictures from me crossing the finish line at
Yeah,
that
it was
point because
great.
everyone's just like snap, 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 snap,
Well,
snap.
because
So
you run past the guy who is doing the announcing. And so as we're running past, I'm like frantically pointing at Steph, being like, look, 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 like, and
yeah,
so and he didn't start announcing it until we were like pretty much crossing. So I thought at first I was like, oh no, like he's gonna, and nope, sure enough, he like caught it
nailed
right
it
in
right
time.
on.
And yeah, so that was good. So finished the race just before 6 o'clock a.m. Yeah, which
Yes.
wasn't too bad. I mean, I think you said our time was still 5:35, 5 minutes 35 seconds per kilometer,
Yeah, like we
despite a super
being
super slow beginning because we're like walk 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 sprint walk 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 jog walk walk walk
jog. Like
getting around
our first
people.
kilometer pacing was drastically different than our last kilometer pacing.
Yeah. Yeah. So we still finished in good time. So then walked back to the hotel. We were on our way back. And of course, Starbucks was already open in downtown Disney for all the racers. So we go in because Steph wants to get her birthday drink. And that
Yep.
was totally great. And then it was serendipitous that we did this because so while we're waiting, I'm like, I walk over, I'm like, Steph, you should be wearing your medal because everyone's wearing their medals, whatever.
And
And
I
so
was not wearing my
I
medal.
take her medal out of the package and part of it like clinks to the ground and I was like, oh, what happened? So I pick it up and I'm like, oh, maybe it's supposed to spin. Well, of course there's a man standing right there who's wearing his and he's like, mine doesn't spin. I was like, oh no, Steph, like maybe. And so we're like trying to put it back together and like it seems like pretty clear that it's just like broken. But of course the race ended in DCA. I'm like, I don't think we can go back into the race to exchange it because like they funnel you out because they need to get you out of the parks so that they can open the parks for the public. So we're like, well, maybe we could go to the expo, whatever. And then Steph, I think you noticed there was like a guy there wearing like a Run Disney vest.
Like a staff fest. There was a group of them. So then I went up to him and I asked, and he's like, oh, yeah, you can definitely exchange this at the expo. But one of his friends was just there chatting with him. He's like, oh, actually, why don't you just take mine and then you can get me another one? So I thought that was actually really nice. And it just saved us a whole bunch of time.
Yeah,
So
because he knew his buddy could just get him another one. And then Steph, you were saying you saw in like the chats that like a lot of people were
a
complaining
whole
about
bunch.
them.
A whole bunch fell apart. And then even from that, actually, somebody posted today that their challenge medal fell apart. And a bunch of
Oh
them were
no.
complaining about the paint jobs on them. So I'm glad I actually didn't wear my stuff around that much later on because they would have all been chipped. But we might have to take like a short little pause because we're now cheap and cannot afford to actually record for long periods of time. And we were about to run out of time. So
Oh no. Well, we could just end it here, Steph, and we could just say until next time.
we
So
could
because
hear
we are up to the races, and then I think on our next episode, maybe we'll just chat about
the
what we
rest of
did
my
in the
birthday and the
parks.
rest. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
All right,
until
you're gonna
then,
have to stay tuned to the next episode. Until next time,
tweedle out.
twiddle out.
Oh my gosh.